طيب بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا المرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه تسليما كثيرا. اللهم صل وسلم على سيدنا محمد فاتم لما أغلق وخاتم لما سبق ناصر الحق بالحق والهادي إلى صراطك المستقيم وعلى آله حق قدره ومقداره العظيم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. طيب إن شاء الله we'll continue with Masaalik al-Jinaan. And we have reached a new section from last time. Now we go on to we're still in the adab wal fada'il, but it is the section on the duties of who has committed a sin, a glaring sin, an open sin. So he says on page 76, which coincides with line number 1207, he says, wait a minute, I just had it. Now, فحقه في كثرة الإسيان خوف وتوبة بلا تواني. Concerning the duties owed to Allah, the haqq that are owed, the hukuk that are owed to Allah, he says, وفحقه في كثرة الإسيان, by the person who's committed many sins or glaring sins, right? Is that one, khawfun, one has fear of Allah, meaning you fear Allah's punishment, you fear Allah's grievous chastisement, right? With tawbatun, that you make tawbah to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay? Bila tawani means without delay, right? Without delay. So delaying tawbah is the sin from tawbah. So if you make tawbah, if you commit a sin, you have to make tawbah. Now delaying the tawbah from the sin you committed, that's another sin, which you need to make tawbah from that. Right? So you get that in the books from the ulama. That's important to understand. So tawbah tu bila tawani is tawbah without delay. Immediately, as he says, forthwith, repenting forthwith, meaning without delay. بكثرة البكاء والتضرع مع ابتحال واقتناس الورع. Now, بكثرة البكاء is crying a lot. Okay? As he says, beseeching Allah's pardon, or rather, crying one's heart out. All right? So you're up in the middle of the night and you have such regret in your heart, such nadama in your heart about what you've done that was a transgression against the rights of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You feel so bad about it that you're crying, you're bawling, you're crying your heart out to Allah to forgive you. Now, this is a serious state to be in, because you recognize the weight of what you've done, and that fear of Allah, that awe that you have for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it causes you to, when you recognize the reality, it causes you to just cry, pour your heart out. So وَكَثْرَةَ الْبُكَاءِ وَالتَّضَرُّعِ, tadarru'i is being humble, beseeching Allah's pardon, ma'abtihali, okay, imploring Him to give us fortitude, waqtinasi wara'i, right, and to stay upright, okay, from now on. So these are the conditions of tawbah. You make tawbah, you have intention not to do it again, You have nadama in your heart, right? You leave the place where you committed the sin, but you approach Allah in the complete humility, right? وَالتَّضَرُّعِ مَعَ ابْتِحَالِ, right? Beseeching Allah's pardon, right? You're in a state of complete, right? You destroyed yourself, and the only way that you can get back to where you were is by Allah's permission, by Allah's forgiveness. You have nothing else. You've destroyed yourself. You've oppressed yourself. Like the dua of Ayub ibn Mata, radiallahu ta'ala anhu, right? When he asked Allah, he says, Ya Allah, inni kuntu min al-zalimeen. I'm one of the oppressors. I've oppressed myself. Okay? Allah zalamtu bi nafsi. That I've oppressed my own soul by doing wrong. Now, this is the state that really the Muslims, those who see reality, this is, when the Prophet said, worship Allah though you see him, or you don't see him, but he sees you. This is that state that you're just, it's you see reality, you know that, man, all of us, we're destroyed. We have nothing but Allah. The only way we can get to where we want to go is by Allah's mercy. That's it. Nothing else. Nothing you can do really that would amount to what is worthy. Right? So Allah is merciful. He gives down the obligations that we have to perform, right? And they're not difficult. But we have all at the same time, we got all these temptations, all these vices we live with in the world, all of these things, obstacles in our path, and we slip and fall. But Tawbah is the key. Tawbah is the key. And if we have sincerity, ikhlas with Tawbah, inshallah, by Allah's mercy, then we can be successful. So he says, وَشُكْرُ إِذْ لَمْ يَكُوا ذَنْبًا أَكْبَرَ وَلَسْتَ مُسْتَهِلَّهُ لِلْإِزْدِرَى. Now I'm thanking, all right, thanking Allah. Although all this, you're thanking Allah because such a sin could have been more, could have been bigger, right? وَلَمْ يَكُنْ ذَنْبًا أَكْبَرَ. It could have been worse than what it is. It could have been more serious. It had and because it has not led you straight to definitive destruction, right? So you've committed a sin, could have been worse, and Allah could have caused you to die and gone straight to hell. That's what he's saying. But Allah didn't do that. Allah gave you an opportunity. Allah is merciful. So the person who goes over to the woman's house who's not his mahram, and he goes and he fornicates, and he drives home, Allah could have caused him to get into a car accident and die, and gone straight to hellfire for fornication. Reality, right? So before you even get an opportunity to make tawbah, Allah could take your soul. Allah can cause you to die, and that's it. So by Allah's mercy, you commit sins, and Allah gives you ample time to make tawbah, to see your response, and to forgive you. And so you show gratitude for that. So he says, وَشُكْرُ إِذْ لَمْ يَكُنْ ذَنْبًا أَكْبَرَ وَلَسْتَ مُسْتَهِلَّهُ لِلْإِزْدِرَاءِ مَعَ الْمُلَاحَظَةِ لُطْفِ اللَّهِ ثُمَّ خفي مِنَّةٍ لَهُ حَيْثُ تَؤُمُّ. Now I'm calling, however, to one's mind that Allah's infinite clemency, His lutuf, His kindness, and His unfathomable subtlety right? His unfathomable subtlety. Okay, Thum khafiyyi minnatin. This is his grace. The minna is his grace, liable to conceal a benefit wherever he pleases. Right? That Allah He can uh, um, He can conceal benefits. He can take away benefits however Allah chooses. Right? Allah does not. Some people they're not sincere. Some people they're not humble. They have no humility. Some people don't know Tawbah. Some people don't have any. They do something wrong and they don't have no regret about it. They have no nadama in their heart. So the fact that you have these things, these are benefits that help us to realize our fault, help us to realize reality, and we're grateful for that. Right? Is Rabb, I mean, I can't see this. Make this bigger. SubhanAllah. إذ ربها تكون هذه سببا لكفر عجبه إذا ما اكتسب. عجيب. Now, for such an awkward situation can well shield a person from self-conceit. Right? The servant who was nearly falling into because of his sinlessness. Now, so sometimes what he's saying here is that some people they may not commit sins. They may have impeccable character. They may they pray 5 times a day, fast Thursdays, Mondays, Thursdays, they give sadaqah, they do all of these great things. And so it leads them to be arrogant. So in actuality, them slipping, Allah caused them to slip and commit a sin can actually be a benefit for that person because it prevents them from being arrogant. That's amazing, right? That some people can become arrogant and think themselves higher than others because of the spiritual status. And Allah causes them to slip to bring them back down to reality. SubhanAllah. Right? That's like they asked, the football team if the loss was a good loss. That's a good loss because the team was 10-0. They were undefeated, and they needed this loss to humble themselves to bring them back down to reality. Right? You see this in sports, and sometimes it may be a good loss, according to some. Right? Teams go undefeated, they get arrogant, they get cocky. They don't work as hard anymore. Right? And they go into the game and they lose the game because they stopped working hard because they got arrogant. No one could beat them. And now they got beat. So it's the same kind of similitude that a person goes through life and they look at themselves and say, oh, I have no sins. Alhamdulillah, I'm good. Right? And then they become arrogant. That's what Shaitan did. He saw himself. Again, when you see yourself, you're destroyed. It doesn't matter how good or even how bad you are. It's when you see yourself, right? It's too good. It's just as bad as seeing yourself as too bad and having no hope, right? Because Allah says He will not enter, and no one will enter into paradise that has the mosquito weight of that has the weight of ignorance of a mosquito's wing. Right? So even if you've done all these great things, but if you're arrogant, you're not going to paradise because of your arrogance. So Allah has His way, in other words, of keeping us in check, keeping us in reality, right? And He does this by either allowing us to slip up or causing us to slip up, right? And giving us an opportunity to make Tawbah and turn back to him. Now, والعجب أقبه من العصيان نعم لصرفه العبد عن الديان. Naam, and they said there's no doubt that being arrogant or ujub, self-conceit, having vanity, is the worst and the most dangerous of sins. Right? It's far more dangerous than an unfortunate mistake. For such a vice diverse definitively the servant from the path of Allah, who is the supreme judge. Naam, you see yourself. Right? The man who looks at himself and says, I'm so handsome. The woman who says, oh, I'm so beautiful. Everybody praises them. Right? You get this, you see people like, you meet people like this every day. In every facet or genre of life. The athlete who's everybody praises him. He's arrogant. Right? It could be, the sheikh. People come kissing his hand and kissing his forehead and sitting on his feet, washing his feet, and it goes to his head. Right? This is the ugly, ugly, ugly trait or characteristic to have. إلى اكتفائه بأمر نفسه لصفه وغفلة بعكسه, and incites him to deluding self-confidence due to his ignorance and the true realities of his heedlessness. Naam. So this is what ujub does, right? Naam. It incites a person to a deception. It's a deluding self-confidence, right? Because the person is being ignorant and not looking at reality. You're just in the matrix. You're thinking, oh, I'm beautiful, but that beauty fades. 1 year you're beautiful, the next year you're not. It's not reality, right? That's not reality, So if something is one way on one day and on another day, it's a totally different way. It's not real. It's not reality. Reality is a constant. And that's why Allah is the only reality. Because Allah is the only constant. Allah doesn't change. Allah doesn't change. He's the only thing that doesn't change. Right? Because his reality is not like our reality. Our reality is that we are constantly changing. We go from young to being old, healthy to sick, right? And living to dead. So what is the reality? All of this is really an illusion. It's not real. It's not tangible. It's not something that you can hold on to, right? You die, you can take nothing of what you own to your grave with you. You have tons of gold, and you have nothing. When you die, it goes to someone else. It doesn't, no matter what it is, how big your house is in the dunya, everybody's buried 6 feet deep when they die. Poor, rich, whether you live rich or poor, black, white, green, or purple, everybody goes 6 feet deep. That's reality. That grave, that's reality for everybody on the earth, whether they're an atheist, a Muslim, a Christian, a Jew, a Hindu, or whatever it is, they're buried 6 feet deep. Or they're going to be cremated. Whatever burial ritual people have, whatever you have on this earth, you look at it for what it is. It's worth a grain of salt, right? Because if you can't take it with you, it's not worth anything. All right? It's not worth anything. What's the value of it? People value diamonds and gold, and the ancient Egyptians used to bury their pharaohs and with their jewels and then people come and the grave robbers come and rob the graves, right? And all the Europeans came and took all the wealth anyway. What is it? What is what's the benefit? All right. So we have to look at reality. This is how we have to, you know, we ask Allah to show us daily because we forget. We forget about what's real, and it destroys us. Ajib, Ajib. This book, man, I can't express how important this book is. SubhanAllah. It's just a shame no one knows Abdul Bamba. It's amazing in this ummah, man. And it's because this man was a black African from a small group of people, the Wolof, and is insignificant to a lot of people. People don't even look to that part of the country. I mean, that part of the part of the world, the part of the continent in that country, specifically in Senegal, to even look for scholars. All right, but you don't find books like this. SubhanAllah. So he continues to a different in a different vein, the duties of who's experiencing misfortune. Right. So he says, فَحَقُّهُ فِي نِقْمَةٍ صَبْرٌ رِضَى وَحُسْنُ ظَنِّ لِتَكُونَ مُرْتَضَى. Now, so he translates nikma as misfortune. And nikma is a misfortune. It's like a curse, right? It's the curse. It's the opposite of ni'mah. Nikma, right? So he says the duties towards Allah, فَحَقُّهُ فِي نِقْمَةٍ, the duty toward Allah for the servant who is experiencing a nikmah, who's experiencing a misfortune. One, sabrun. Sabrun is patience, fine forbearance. Sabrun rida is being patient and pleased with what Allah has given you. Right? You don't have all the wealth, you don't have all the big house, the fancy clothes, all the material things like other people have. You may have a crummy job. You don't have a glorious career. People don't even know you. Be patient with Allah. Be patient with Allah. Keep praying. Keep fasting. Keep reading Quran. Keep seeking knowledge. Be patient. Everyone dies. Everyone dies. And we see this now, subhanAllah. We see this now with the Palestinian people. Be patient with Allah. That land is blessed land. That city is blessed. Allah is the watcher and the protector of Palestine. Right? That's the first Qibla. That's the first Qibla in Islam. Right? That's the site of the Isra wa Mi'raj. That's the blessed land. They know that. They know that. The oppression is there. Those people, we should be jealous of them. SubhanAllah, we should be jealous of the Palestinians because they have an opportunity to fight and die for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if we knew the reality of the situation, we would wish that we were in their place, that we too can fight and die for the sake of Allah and protecting that blessed land. Right? We should not look at them with, grief or sadness or sympathy. Right? No. While we sit here on our nice homes and heat, air conditioning homes, and a lot of food in the freezer and the refrigerator, right? We know what we're going to eat tonight. Don't feel bad for them. right? We're the ones that are in trouble. They're fighting and dying, and their kids are going straight to Jannah. Ajib. SubhanAllah. So they are showing patience with Allah by remaining there and staying steadfast and fighting, right? Ajib, Ajib, SubhanAllah. May Allah give them victory. وَحُسْنُ ظَنِّي لِتَّكُونَ مُرْتَدَى. Now, so having fine forbearance, keeping hopeful in Allah's rescue, so one may be praised in the hereafter, right? Now, Ajib. وَحُسْنُ ظَنِّي, having good opinion of Allah. It's a literal translation. This translation is good, but here it's not literal. وَحُسْنُ ظَنِّي لِتَّكُونَ مُرْتَدَى. You have a good opinion of Allah, so that Allah's pleasure can be on you. This is the Arabic key. Sabrun rida, right? لِتَكُونَ مُرْتَدَى. Right? So Allah can be pleased with you because you're pleased with Him. When you have husnul dhan billah and you have a good husnul dhan, you have a good opinion of Allah, Allah will have a good opinion of you. And we see this in Palestine. They have a good opinion of Allah. They never lose hope. They never lose hope. They have a good opinion of Allah, and Allah is showing them His ni'mah on them. Allah, He's putting Jannah in their lap. He's putting Jannah. He's sending their kids to Jannah. This is, man, how are we looking at, how is the world looking at what's going on? No, we don't wish for people to die, but you put yourself in their place. The reality, again, it's reality. Looking at the haqiqah. These people are at the door of Jannah. They are at the doorstep of Jannah, literally. And they maintain a good husnul dhan billah, a good opinion of Allah, and they're murtada. They're Allah pleased with them. He says, فَلَيْسَ يَنْبَغِي لِعَبْدِ التَّهَامِ مَوْلَاهُ كُرْهَ فِعْلِهِ مِنَ الْغِرَامِ. That it is not proper for the servant, it is not proper for a servant to blame the master, Allah, or show repulsion for one of his acts, be it an ordeal. How timely this is, man. The people, they're not blaming Allah. Oh Allah, why are you doing this to us? Oh Allah, why are you punishing us? Oh, they're not. Who's saying? No one's saying that. They're saying, Ya Allah. They're crying to Allah. They're beseeching Allah, right? And they're showing strength and good opinion of Allah. We're praising Allah while they're being bombed, they're being killed. And they have they're maintaining the good. It's amazing to watch. They're just, you can hear them. They're praising Allah. They're not blaming Allah at all. Right? And this is how people look at Bala as trial, the trials and tribulations. Well, what did they do wrong? Like, if they Allah punishing them. No, Allah not. Allah, the opposite way around. Right? Allah is showing them that they are the custodians of the blessed land of Palestine and Jerusalem. They're the protectors of Al-Aqsa. And Allah has put them, again, Allah put them at their doorstep, and they're thanking Allah. Because it's not, as He says, It's not proper. Walaysa, he says, Walaysa yanbaghi li'abdin ittiham mawlahu kurha fi'lihi min al-garam, that it's not proper for the slave to blame the master. It's not proper for the servant to blame Allah for something that Allah is doing. Allah is in control. Those Jews, those Israelis can do nothing. Not the Jews, those Israelis can do nothing except what Allah allows them to do. Reality. Allah is in control of the war. Allah is in control of what happens. They just keep worshiping and praising and fighting for Allah. Everything works out in the end. We all die. We all die. Either you die today or you die tomorrow. It's just pick one. Time is, is an illusion. We all die. And if you knew reality, you want to die like that. That's how you want to die. All right? You want your blood to be spilled for Allah. What greater ni'mah do you have on this earth than your blood being spilled for the sake of Allah? You did money and material, nothing you can do. Nothing else can replace that. Nothing. May Allah give us success. He says, he continues, لأنه على الوراء أشفق من أنفسهم ووالديهم لم نمن. He says, but even if you feel some trouble to realize it fully, know that Allah is more merciful to the creatures than they may be for their own selves or their own parents may be for them. Ajib. لأنه على الوراء أشفق من أنفسهم ووالديهم لم نمن. Right? Allah is more merciful to you than your own self. Allah is more merciful to you than your mother is to you. You keep this in mind when you fight for Allah. They go to the battlefield and they know Allah is merciful. They know Allah is ar-Rahman. And they fight and they die and they're patient. And they throw their hands up, Ya Allah, calling out to Allah, praising the Prophet, sending prayers on the Prophet while their blood is being spilled. That's honor. That is tawfiq. That is honor. Allah showing who, and in this book, remember, he says this. Sheikh Ahmad Bamba says this. He says on the day of judgment, he said on the day of judgment, people who live the life of luxury and comfort and rest and relaxation will see the people who live the life of hardship, struggle, and strife, and trial and tribulation, going into Jannah, going to heaven, going through the gates of Jannah. While those people of luxury in this dunya, they sit by on the side and watch. And they ask Allah, he says it in his book, they all ask Allah, Ya Allah, how did it be that we would live the life, we wish that we would have lived a life of struggle. We wish we would have lived a life of hardship, of great loss, so that we too can be entering into Jannah first. Reality, man. Reality. SubhanAllah. This is reality, man. This is haqiqah. It's just that most people, they don't know it. They can't see it. They don't see it that way. So Allah is more merciful to us than ourselves. He's more merciful to us than our own parents. And he continues, وَلَيْسَ يَقْصِدُ سِوَى سِلَاهِنَا لِذَاكَ كَبَّهُ بِهِ تَهَامَنَا. He intends, Allah intends through all his acts and recommendations, nothing but good for us. وَلَيْسَ يَقْصِدُ سِوَى سِلَاهِنَا. Allah wants nothing. When Allah commands us to do something, it's for our own good. When Allah prohibits us from doing something, it's for our own good. When Allah recommends us to do or not to do, it's for our own good. وَكُلُّ مَا قَدَى عَفْوًا لِذَاكَ كَبَّهُ بِهِ تَهَامَنَا. He says, the reason for which it is judged highly unfair to blame him. How can you blame Allah when Allah is the one who's commanding you to good? Allah is showing you good. Allah is guiding you toward goodness. You can't blame Allah for anything that you suffer, anything you go through. If you haven't been working for Allah, you haven't been praying to Allah, you haven't been worshiping Allah, and you go through a trial, know that that's probably most likely, that's a punishment. And in that situation, you can't blame Allah. You can't blame Allah. That's blame your own self. Right? Naam. وَأَسْأَلُ كَشْفَ الدُّرِّ ثُمَّ الْعَافِيَةِ وَكُلَّ مَا قَضَى بِهِ كُنْ رَاضِيًا. He says, ask him so that he may remove from you harm. He may remove harm from you. Right? وَأَسْأَلُ كَشْفَ الدُّرِّ, that Allah will lift the harm from you and grant you material and spiritual welfare. ثُمَّ الْعَافِيَةِ. This is both has a material aspect as well as a spiritual aspect. Right? It's what we want. We want tawfiq and we want afiyah. We want afiyah. We want Allah. We want a good state. Be in a good state, both physically and spiritually. وَكُلَّ مَا قَضَى بِهِ كُنْ رَاضِيًا. Right? And feel satisfied of what Allah is satisfied with. Be satisfied with Allah's decision. Allah decided, subhanAllah, Allah decided that those Palestinians were born in Palestine and that they're there. I watched an interview of a sister a Palestinian sister who was born and raised in California. And she talked about having survivor's guilt of being born in California and not being born in Gaza or Ramah, right? Or Beit Hinna in Palestine. And subhanAllah, it's like, she said, what luck of the draw. He said, but you get guilt. Why wasn't I born there so that I can fight and die with my people? And we think it's the same thing as Muslims, right? Some people get honored in places to live and times where they can go and fight for Allah. But yet we're here sitting in, America in the laps of luxury, and we have all of these things we have. What are we doing? It brings a lot of things to question. What are we doing? Right? But we're satisfied with what Allah decided. Allah decided that we're here but we have to do something while we're here. We can't just sit and say, yeah, oh, alhamdulillah, everything is great, right? Everything has a price. Everything has a responsibility, whether, it's wealth or poverty, health or sickness. You have a responsibility, right? We just have to find out what that is and act accordingly, right? So just being satisfied with Allah decides, right? As He says, right? وَكُلُّ مَا قَضَى بِهِ كُنْ رَاضِيًا وَدَمْ عَلَى تَسَبُّبٍ إِنْ أَمْكَنَ ثُمَّ اتْرُكِ شَكْوَى لِخَلْقِ لِلْعَنَى. نعم. Cease not using rational means to the utmost of your ability, and give up complaining to the other people about your misfortune. Right? So we live in the world of asbab. We live in the world of causes. Use those asbab Allah has given you to do something for Allah. Right? Whatever you have, it should be in the way of Allah. Whatever it is. Some people have good health. Some people have good voices. Some people have good intellect. Some people work well with their hands. Some people, anything. But use the asbab Allah has given us to work for Him, to fight and die for Him. And don't complain. Give up complaining. Stop complaining about to other people about what you don't have, about the troubles you have. This is what we do as a people. Complain like babies. And if it wasn't for this man or that man, man, stop complaining and get up and do something about it. This is the problem. We know the reason. We know history. We know what happened. Stop complaining, right? Stop complaining. No one. We don't hear, like, the Palestinians don't complain about being Palestinian, about being in Palestine and being. They're not complaining. They're fighting. They've always fought. Right? We here have to take a page out of their book and can fight, not get up and pick up weapons, but we have to fight in different ways. But the fight doesn't stop. It doesn't end. Intellectually, we have to fight, right? We have to do things. The pen can be your sword. Like they say, the pen is, holier than the sword. The blood of the pen of the scholar, holier than the blood of the martyr. When you find it in the highest levels of intelligentsia, right? Even down on the streets, my man, my mind, my 9, my pen, my Mac 10, right? It's your mind. Intellectually, we have to fight. This is what Malcolm taught. It's using your mind, going to the UN. He's going to the State Department. He's going to the courts. He was fighting legally, fighting oppression and injustice. He didn't have to necessarily pick up a gun and go shoot people, right? That's not going to win you the war. The fight is going to be fought politically, intellectually, right? Spiritually. You have to win that war. And so our struggle, you find is common among people, oppressed people all over the world. But what Ahmed Bamba here, Radiallahu Ta'ala Anhu, is telling us is to be content with what Allah has given you and use what Allah has given you in His cause. And don't complain to other people, because other people can't help you. Other people can't help you and they can't harm you. So what's the point of complaining to them? right? You complain to them, you don't complain to Allah. You ask the people, but you don't ask Allah. You even fight for the people, but you don't fight for Allah. Ajib. Ajib. So we will stop here. Heavy words, man. Heavy words. Heavy words. Check off of the Bumba, man. This book is timely. Any questions you want to add? Or anything you want to add?
No questions, man. Just a heck of a reminder, a reflection of what's going on. It just all comes back home to you, and as a person, and what you can do for yourself to get closer to Allah and to disengage yourself from matrix of this world that got you distracted looking one way when the reality is happening right in front of your face.
Right in front of your face. Exactly. Exactly. It's the thing. It's like, and you look in the mirror. It's just. This is just. It is. It's a heavy reminder, and we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us success. We ask Allah to give the people in Palestine success, give them victory, and those that die, Allah, we ask Allah give them Jannah. Well, we already know Allah has given them Jannah. Allah promises that as being martyrs. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive us of our sins, because we know that calamity is coming, and we have to, it's coming our way. And all of these things, at the end of the day, everyone dies. So we ask Allah to give us, at the time of death, inshallah, that we are in a good state. And that's the point of this book, is to put ourselves in a state that Allah is pleased with before we die. And that's reality. That's what we work for. We're not working for money or anything else. We're working to be in a good state at the time of death. And after that, the rest is up to Allah, and that's all we can depend on. So inshallah, we will continue next week. Inshallah, if you have anything, contact me anytime. Inshallah. Tayyib. Allahumma salli wa sallam ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi tasliman kathira. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun. Wa salamun ala mursaleen. Oh, walhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Let me mark down the line, the page and the line. Before I forget. This is page 77. I'm sorry, page 77. Line, what line? No, line 12, 20. Nam. There you go. All right, tell you, tabarakallah, inshallah, next week. Assalamu alaikum.
Inshallah. Oh, yeah, for this class next week, inshallah.
All right.